Welcome back to the Marketing Clinic. If you've been on Instagram recently, you've probably seen a caption just like this. Fueling creativity, one cold brew at a time. Take a sip, unleash your genius. Light bulb emoji, coffee emoji, cold brew magic, some odd hashtag choices. An agency example, maybe you've seen an ad or a caption like this, where strategy meets style and creativity reigns supreme. Join us on the forefront of digital evolution. A briefcase emoji, a rocket, some weird hashtags. I've started seeing these more and more, even on paid ads. And so I can kind of sense that the business owner might be using GPT or another AI tool to write these captions. And while they do read, interestingly in some cases, these don't really encourage me to click. And I came to realize that I could share this prompt I've been using for a while now that might help to write captions that are a little bit more engaging and hooking in. We're going to be using two examples in this video, one of a cafe owner with a new drink and another of an agency owner with a new service that they're offering. Before we dive into the examples that I've generated and the prompt, which we'll be doing in real time, I haven't seen how the results will look yet, so that's part of the lesson we'll learn along the way. I do want to disclaim I'm not a marketer. I don't have much experience with marketing. I have been doing prompting and using AI tools for over a year now, but I'm giving this prompt for free in the caption. I'm not even asking you to subscribe or like the video. I'm not doing this for any of those purposes. I just want to share this for any business owners that kind of want to diversify what they're getting as a response from AI tools. I'm not trying to make a buck here. So let's go ahead and look at our examples for a second. So here we have our new drink with habaneros, and habanero is kind of like a spicy pepper. And so this is a little bit unique of a drink, and that's part of what we're doing. We're giving the AI tools we'll be using a challenge. And we see here, this is just when I prompt GPT and I say, write me an Instagram caption for this situation. And it's typical things like we just read, spicing up your coffee game with our latest creation, cold brew with a fiery kick of habanero, fire emoji, coffee emoji, weird hashtags. You're sensing a theme here that it's all kind of the same format. I do like in some occasions they're asking questions, which is good for some social platforms, but generally even the agency one sounds the same. Light speed editing for your brand success, rocket emoji, a camera emoji, thrilled to announce our latest plan. And I feel like once customers start realizing this format and seeing this format, the marketing might be less effective. So let's go ahead and just copy this prompt. And again, this will be in the caption, so I encourage you to just, if you have time, click away and try this for yourself. And in this video, we're going to be using two different tools. I'm going to show you some of the weaknesses I see in GPT 3.5 and the tool that I prefer over it, but we'll still try both out. So I'm going to paste my prompt. And I'm just going to briefly go through why this is written the way it is from my experience. And again, I'm not an expert. I really want to be clear. So the first thing I'm saying to the AI tool or the LLM is the most important part. I want it to be a latent thinker, and a latent thinker can connect dots from adjacent or separate fields. So I want it to think creatively. That's my most important, factor of this. I want it to respond with multiple personalities, multiple frameworks, and a table. And you're going to see exactly what that is. Let's go ahead and grab our coffee prompt. I'm copying and pasting this each time just so you can tell that I'm not trying to change anything or sell a prompt or anything like that. So here you can see the value of the table immediately because you're able to separate the data. So while that's generating, let's look at the rest of the prompt here. I have strictly detailed the prompt. This is a little bit long for me. These days I'm writing my prompts a lot shorter, but I still use this one. And the key part is I'm asking for 4 different marketing, copywriting frameworks. And, luckily these have enough of a history that I'm able to describe them briefly. And then for the most part, I haven't had issues with GPT hallucinating or making things up. It's seen enough of the pass, pain, agitate, solution copywriting framework that it can mimic that pattern for my example, which is cold brew with habaneros in it. So let's take a peek at the responses. So the response is quite long, which is my immediate red flag. It's part of why I don't generally use GPT 3.5. But the things I love in this table here are I'm getting 4 responses for the price of 1 prompt. Instead of the typical approach where I have to send 1,000 prompts to get 1,000 responses, I can send 1 prompt and get 4 responses each time. The other thing I like is it's explaining I hate to use this word, but it's explaining the thought behind the response. So here it's telling us, here's the pain point I'm highlighting, here's the agitation I'm making, the customer field, and here's the solution I'm selling, the cold brew inferno with habaneros. Again, the response is pretty long, but I love this as a method of learning as well. Let's go ahead and look at the before-after bridge copywriting framework. So here we can see before, it's telling us, before your coffee routine was bland and predictable. After discovering cold brew inferno, your taste buds are ablaze with excitement. Say goodbye to ordinary cold brew and hello to a fiery fusion of flavor. Bridge the gap between routine and adventurous with our exhilarating habanero-infused creation. So here, I'll be honest, I'm not really happy with this because it's so obviously using the framework. It's saying before, after, and bridge. And again, that's part of why I'm going to show you the next tool here. So let me copy my prompt, and we'll use GPT 3.5 one more time in this video, but the main tool I'm going to be using is called Perplexity Labs. It's a playground, so I would not recommend putting any personal data or anything in here. I don't know the rules behind it. I'm just talking about what I personally have used and what I personally do. The reason I like this labs.perplexity.ai website is because the new AI tools or the new AI models from companies and open source are sometimes added to this, and I'm able to use those. So things like Cloud 3, which is from Anthropic, or Llama 3, which I believe is Facebook's open source model, or even the Minstrel models, which I saw quite a while ago, are all on here. And I like this tool because I'm able to type it in and I'm able to use it. It doesn't have a great memory. It can't remember my things because I'm not using an account, and every time I refresh, the data is refreshed. But I'm able to access kind of these newest, I want to say cutting edge models for free, which I really enjoy. So here I'm going to be using Llama 3 70 billion model, which is, again, I believe from Facebook's open source. And I'm going to paste the exact same thing here. While this is responding, I'm going to go and grab the exact same text again, and let's paste it in. All right. And now let's kind of see some of the responses and the differences. I guess if I had to summarize my main complaints with the GPT response, it feels like it kind of lost its train of thought, and it wasn't uniquely different enough for each of the frameworks. Each framework felt a little bit similar to me. So here, let's read the copy pass framework. So reading this out, we're asking the customer, are they tired of the same routine, stuck in a flavorless cycle? Now we want to hook them in and say, oh, we have a cold brew with a kick. It's infused with habaneros. You can spice up your morning. I really like that quote right there, actually. You can spice up your morning. And then let's just look at all of these because I'm really liking these as I read through. And before we read through these, zooming out for a moment, this is what my process typically is. I use this prompt because I can take an element from this framework and an element from this framework and combine them into my own. It's a way that I like to think more creatively. So let's look at the hook, story, and offer, which the story is a fake personal experience here, which I feel like is an interesting touch. So I still remember the day I discovered the secret to a perfect cup of coffee. For me, if I was on social media, I would be almost instantly hooked by that line. So this describes, I was on a trip to Mexico where I stumbled upon a small cafe that infused their brew with habaneros. So their brew here reads a little bit weird to me, so I would be changing that out. But I love the story element here. And then the flavor was unlike anything I'd ever tasted before. It looks like we're missing a period here. That's odd. And then now I'm excited to bring that same experience to you with our new cold brew. Try it today and taste the adventure. So not perfect, but I'm really liking that as a hook. And then here we have this one sounds the most like AI to me. It's using this sleepy emoji, which might be good. I don't really like any parts of this framework for this example. Now let's look at the DIC framework. So disrupt, it does feel disruptive. This warning, this coffee is not for the faint of heart. Our new cold brew with habaneros is a game changer for those who dare to be different. So that to me gives, what's that brand of water? The Death Water, I believe is the name. Canned water. It gives me those vibes. It's very, very eye-catching. Might not suit all brands, but at least I see that as an option now. I had never even considered marketing habanero cold brewed that way until I saw it here. So, all of that being said, let's grab our other example, and we're just going to refresh everything. And that's part of, I'm going to talk about the last part of this prompt here. We'll make sure this is on the right model. That's part of why the prompt is written the way it is. At the end, you'll notice here it says, when you understand and are ready to help, say prompt me. I'm just going to give an example. If I remove that, you can see it starts to kind of generate some erroneous things. So I want to give it some direction on what to what to say every time I reprompt it. So I'm just going to refresh everything here. All right. And now you can see, even though we had chats in the past, it's kind of resetting the memory, and we're going to use the agency example this time. Sorry, I want to do this all in real time because I've seen, okay, yeah, this is a good example. So here, this is why I attempt to put the ending in here, but what I have noticed, and with folks I've worked with, they've had this issue as well using GPT 3.5, is it doesn't like to listen. So what we can do here is, it feels strange because I'm not used to computers behaving this way, but you notice I pasted in the exact same thing. I didn't change anything, and this time it worked. So it is really one of those occasions where it's like, oh, well, it works on my side. So here we'll put the example into both chats, and let's go ahead and read the responses. So kind of similar here. As you'll notice with 3.5, sometimes the frameworks bleed into each other. Other times they don't. And let's go ahead and read the response from my current favorite model, Llama 3. For me, it's on par with GPT-4, maybe better. Something I don't like and I might change in my prompt is the emojis. I feel like emojis are hard to use correctly, so I might change that. But let's go ahead and look at this one. So now we're changing mindsets into more of a professional world. So an agency that does short form video content editing. So pain is they're tired of hiring bad editors, and here we see that we kind of the ball was dropped a little bit. We don't get the full explanation of why. So let's go ahead and try this again. Yeah, it doesn't seem like it wants to tell us. Come on, Llama, you're making me embarrassed in front of this channel. That's all right. Here we see. Oh, I think maybe it's okay. So here we see, story of I remember the days when traditional video editing services were holding me back. Now I'm excited to introduce this new plan. So kind of a mediocre offer for me. This before after bridge feels a little bit lazy to me as well, since it is saying those. I would remove the words, but I think it could be okay. I'm really liking the disrupt, intrigue, and click option, the copy DIC model, because it's really catching my eye for both of these examples. Which is, again, that's the whole reason I'm showing the model. It drops the ball on the first three, But if we look at the first example, we got inspiration from the first three. So the responses can really be all over the map, but the basic premise is that I send one request and I get four, hopefully somewhat diverse responses. So this has been a copywriting prompt for marketing or for business owners, just kind of potentially useful as a prompt. Again, I would double check everything. As you can tell, with a prompt like this, you might have longer responses or a little bit more hallucination or something like that. Um, but at the very least, hopefully it gives a little bit more diverse responses. So if this was useful, please throw a comment and mention what other prompts would be helpful. I'm not a, I'm not a big fan of prompt gatekeeping, as you can probably tell from what I said at the start. I think everybody should have access to cutting edge tools, and there's really no reason to hold back. So, hope this has helped, and thanks for watching.